We're back. Welcome to our fireside chat. Again, we'll continue our conversation on education. In South Africa, the system of education, what it means for the future of the country, sustainability of our economy, how industry draws various elements of innovation and labor, etc. But more importantly, what role you and I should be playing to keep ourselves informed and what we need to do. Now, Nosipho, at the end of the last segment, you had something you wanted to add on the premise of the conversation we were having. What was it?
It is the fact that even those students who actually study things that they love, who actually have the right career path or guidance, finish university, now they want to become interns. They want to get some on-the-job training, which is very vital because as organizations, we look at people with experience. So you have the gap to actually build the experience. Now the reality of it is that the economy is what it is. So therefore you're managed by a budget in terms of how many interns you can actually take in a particular year. Because of the disintegrated nature, I think, of planning in South Africa as a country, you don't have a single place where you can go as an organization, as an industry, and actually talk to the job fund, as an example. What does the job fund do to the sitters? And form a sort of dialogue that begins to say, as a plant, I can actually accommodate 300 students, or I can take 1,000. I can't pay them. I do have the work for them if they're to come, but can somebody help me with stipend to actually mismatch? So we have the sitters that are supposed to cover that gap. We have the job fund that should be looking at maybe closing that gap, but there is, again, no conversation that happens. Even some industries, I've seen some people actually going out to try and reach out. But because if you talk to this person, you must talk to the other department, you must talk to the other, you get tired on the way for sure, and continue with what you have. So it's not like there aren't other ways and plans that you can take as an organization to actually make sure that you get the kids in to get the necessary on-the-job training for them to be ready for actual interviews and actually then take themselves forward. So it's an approach where there's the wrong careers, but there's also the right careers that are getting the assistance. So you actually sit with a lot of engineers in this country that are unemployed. Not because they're unemployable, but we can't afford them.
How do we fix that?
Again, it goes back to the conversation to say that if there was somebody thinking about the fact that how much money is lying in the system, in government, not just in education, in government, how much money is lying in the system that could actually help in partnership with industry to actually then create the space for young people to actually work.
One of the challenges is that you do have these notions of you're either unemployed, underemployed, or unemployable. And it seems to me that we've almost mashed these three notions into one. They do need to be treated differently. Now, in South Africa, we also have the legacy of education receiving a premium when it gets to university qualification. So if you have a university qualification, the messaging is that you're more likely to get a job, you're more likely to get an interview, you're more likely to get some sort of social equity when you say, I have a university degree. It doesn't seem to translate to people who have FET qualifications, diplomas, or N5, N4, etc., etc., etc. How do we shift that messaging in industry? Because I don't think it's a job of the educators to do it. I think industry's got to go, actually, I can take a person in who comes from a technicon or a technical school and give them a function in a business that is critical and they have the cognitive ability to execute it.
Industry, Vusi, is actually accepting a lot of students coming from technicals.
Right.
And looking, especially the N5s, the N6, in terms of the specialized engineering qualifications, a lot of those students have progressed and have actually became very serious senior people in the same country, and they're very respected with their qualifications. So I don't think that industry is discriminating between a degree and a diploma. I think the university, the industry is discriminating between what have you studied in tertiary. So if we are looking at, and I'll tell you the honest truth, the quality of technicons today, before you interject, the quality of technicons today and the quality of technicons then is not the same. In fact, in industry, I think we still need to be educated about what the FET colleges are producing, if you ask me. And we sometimes don't know the difference between these layers that have been created. So the reality of it is that, yes, industry must take some responsibility in terms of ensuring that we close the gap, but I think we do. I think I can actually just count the organizations I've worked for, and so many kids actually with N5 and 6 that we've progressed. We're still educating them. We're still paying bursaries for kids who go for N5, because we look for mechanical engineers, we look for chemical engineers, we look for civil engineers, we look for electrical engineers. I'm just picking up on engineering. So I don't believe that the status thing around university and technicon translates to university, to industry. I think industry is focusing on what are our needs, and I think that's where I find the disconnect between what we want and what education is producing.
What did you want to say?
I wholeheartedly agree with you on the issue of technicons. I really believe that we are neglecting the development of technical skills, and for a developing country that is suicidal. It is very problematic. But I disagree to the extent that we speak about industry in this monolithic way. Because where you come from, that may be the culture. But I can tell you now that not everyone in industry thinks that way. For some people, if I go with my WITS qualification, they automatically see me in a different light to somebody who comes from a technicon or who comes from a historically black university. So even our university system
is tiered.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In terms of the partnerships that universities can make with industry for labs or research grants or whatever else, but also in terms of the perception of graduates from different universities and from different levels in the higher education space. Where I think the department needs to play a bigger role, the DHET needs to play a bigger role, is in turning every single working space into a learning space. And some would argue that YES is doing that, the Youth Employment Services. I'd like to know what some of your thoughts are on that particular campaign or program or project. Because at first it was very celebrated, because it was the first time that you had government, industry, working together to solve a problem. But for me, it's also the focus that needs to shift towards not just creating jobs, but supporting young entrepreneurs, supporting small, medium enterprises. I mean, if we look at our percentage to GDP, when you look at the contribution of small businesses, it's below 30%.
Yeah, it's way too low.
The global average is 60 to 70%.
That's right.
If I want to start a business, and I have the skills, and I have the passion, and I have the drive, where do I get the money? Where do I get the support beyond the money? Because we know how many startups fail in South Africa. So what we're really interested in talking about through the Mbegu platform is, we know the problems, we know the challenges that young entrepreneurs face, we know the challenges that young people in communities want to solve certain social issues, we know the challenges they face. How do we bring together people with the skills, the capabilities, the resources, the know-how, together with people with the grit and the ideas, and really develop that collaboration beyond it just being a buzzword?
I wonder if I can here, because you're on the money, right? So you're on the money, the point you make about the issues as they are, and how those issues fester into a macro system. The macro system, the likes of which industry then bears the brunt of, because industry operates in a global economic environment, then it must maintain its global competitiveness. So somewhere here in the middle sits, for me, people who set not only policy, but also are charged with ensuring that that policy is implemented. And that's yourselves. So here's the question I'm asking now. When you wake up and you see our global literacy rates, and you see where South Africa stacks up on the global literacy rates, we're in the bottom quartile. When you wake up and you have a look at youth unemployment, just general unemployment, we're in the bottom quartile. Then you look at productivity of labor as a function of economic output, we're in the global quartile. Surely someone must be sitting and going, there's a problem here. And this problem is not about a thing. It's not the flare-up of a fees must fall. Whilst important and critical, what it highlights is a much broader problem. And what I'm asking, I suppose, is what is the system to address it from the end of government?
Yeah, you know, and I wanted to say this, I guess you read my mind. And we spoke about it earlier on. We have a problem of integrated planning.
Yes.
Well, it's not integrated.
Yes.
At the moment, you know.
But isn't there
government,
the Department of Policy Monitoring and Evaluation?
That's where we're supposed to be having an integrated planning. Within government, at least.
Yes.
It shouldn't be a department, it should be the system.
The system.
Yes.
All these things that you have counted should worry all of us. We can't have an unemployment at 27%, 63% youth. We can't have youth that we produce and we don't know where they go. Producers and graduate, or we lose them from the system and then we don't know where they go.
100%.
You see, all these problems, I don't have to rehash them. So one of the problems that I have is that we don't do integrated planning even within government, let alone then calling industry and then all of us coming together and say, here's the problem, call the youth, whether disorganized or organized, you know, and say, we have a problem, how do we move our country forward?
Yes.
We still have, and then we have the mismatches that Nosipho spoke about, of the industry not being able to absorb certain skills because we don't have them. We don't have the supply.
Yeah.
And then we have graduates that are not absorbed by the system, by the labor market, because they don't fit, you know. And so we've got to be, if we are all worried, then we have to come together, all of us, and say that, look, we have a problem. This is not the state president's problem only. It's all of us. How do we move this forward, taking the responsibility in our different sectors of moving the country forward? I think that's, maybe it's not a silver bullet, but I think that's one of the solutions that we should find.
So when we come back, what I want to do is I want to start the next conversation, because now I want to look forward. But to start it, I want to look at the structure of our economy. One of the admissions we must make is that this economy was not built to be what we want it to be. It was built as an extractionary economy, overlaid with some service industries, and create some sort of hyperbolous economic growth for short periods of time. But because there's no underlying industrial nature of this economy, you then don't have the absorption of deeply technical skills and then a broadening of economic activity. So that's where I want to start, then to look forward in the future. We do that just after this.